Welcome everyone. We're on day 4 of Learn and Redefined, our online conference celebrating teaching and learning. I'm Graham Trick, Learning Specialist here at Showbie. For those who've not met Showbie before, we're a hybrid learning platform that's empowering over 3 million users globally. We look to provide richer, deeper, more personalized feedback. And with our sister app, Socrative, we look to provide quick and efficient assessment for all. It's something that we've been proudly doing for almost 10 years, and you can find out more at showbie.com. During the presentation, you can either use the chat window or the Q&A to ask any questions, and we'll look to answer them at the end of the presentation. For now, what I would like to do is hand over to Rachel for this session where we're going to explore the use of technology in MFL. So thank you very much in advance, Rachel, and over to you.
Lovely, thank you ever so much. First of all, thanks ever so much if you've just joined us. I know loads of us are really super busy at the moment, particularly if you're in a secondary school in the UK. So thank you for taking the time. As Graham said, we are filming. I'm filming from school, and my classroom is right next to our special needs unit. And on a Thursday morning, the boys in there can be a little bit noisy. So hopefully we won't be disturbed. But if you do hear some music or whatever, it's because the boys next door get a little bit unsettled on a Thursday morning. Right. Let's make a start then. Hopefully, Graham will tell me that you can see this.
Yeah, it's here.
Super, thank you, Graham. Lovely. As Graham has said, my name's Rachel Smith. I'm a digital learning coordinator and modern foreign languages teacher at a school called St Ninian's High School, which is in the capital of the Isle of Man. I'm also an Apple professional learning specialist and an Apple distinguished educator, and I've been using technology in the classroom for quite a number of years. And what I hope to do in the next half hour, which isn't very long, is maybe show you just some quick tips and tricks that you could maybe use tomorrow actually in your classroom, and hopefully it'll make life easier for you, nothing too complicated, and it will enhance your students' learning as well. For me, learning a language is all about communication first and foremost. It's about understanding other cultures, and it's about developing empathy and compassion. And of course, it helps to bring and build confidence to our students. So for me, one of the key skills in languages is actually speaking. There are some days in my classrooms where we will write very, very little down. And so the first skill that I'm going to quickly have a look at with you is I'm going to have a look at the skill of speaking and how we can use iPad and the iWorks apps to help us support that. So this is in Keynote. I'm a massive Power Keynote user. I use Keynote every day, all day. And most people might think, oh, Pages is the thing to use. But for me, it really is Keynote. And if you haven't investigated Keynote and what Keynote can do, then you really do need to really get on that. Right, so most of us probably have a phonics sound of the lesson. Most of my examples are in French at the moment. I do teach other languages, but I just happen to put everything in French for today, so apologies if you teach German or something, but the principles will be the same. So this is the sound wa, so moi, voiture, croissant, oiseau, poisson. And actually, if I just escape this, oh no, I don't think I have. What you can do here is, in Keynote, you can make a recording. So it's really easy to make a recording in Keynote. You simply press the plus button and you go to the very end icon, which looks like 2 photographs layered on top of one another. And then there's a possibility to record audio. And what I would do is in here, I would record myself saying these words. And then I would ask the students to record themselves here. Okay, so they would listen as many times as they wanted, and then they could record themselves saying all of these different words. And what that enables you to do is it enables you to be able to listen to every child in your classroom, because of course when they hand that work in, you can quickly run through the recordings and you can establish whether the students in your class have actually understood how to make this sound wow. So that's a nice and easy one. What I would say is that when you're doing anything for your students, it's really important that you build template. So it's important that you build this for them. We're going to try and reduce the cognitive load for them. We don't want them to actually have to build the table and put all the stuff in themselves. We want them to concentrate on learning the language, not actually the building of something. So it's great if you can make this and then airdrop it out to the students, or maybe pop it into Showbie and they can withdraw it from Showbie, but always make a template for your students. So then they're concentrating on the language learning and not actually having like how to use the application that you're using. Okay, I think lots of us use this. This is like a sentence builder activity. In these squares around the outside, we have all the words that we need to make these sentences. And you can obviously do this as a written activity, but I often do it as a speaking activity. So what we want is we want the children, the students to say, I traveled to France, and they have to pick out the correct elements of the sentence from here. So, j'ai voyagé en France. And they can practice and practice and practice that, but once they're ready, they can then make a recording. And I always find it useful to make a little box for them to pop their recording in. I'm just going to come out of the presentation mode. So when a student records, I've got an example somewhere. I think it is this one. Yeah, when a student records, they get this kind of little icon here. And then it's useful for them to have somewhere to pop that on their slide. So here, I've just made them this box. And once they've done their recording, they slide the right recording into this box. And I know that this is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. And again, they can send that to you. They can just drop that straight into Showbie, and you can just open up Keynote straight from Showbie and listen. Or they can export it as a movie. And this is one of the reasons why I like Keynote, is that it allows you to export your whole Keynote as a movie, or maybe just even one slide as a movie, and then drop that into wherever you share your materials, and it will just play out as a movie. And you can listen and pause and mark the students' work. Okie doke. I'll just pop this back into play mode. Brilliant. Right. This is a paired speaking activity that worked really, really well in my classroom. Sometimes I find things like transactional activities quite hard to assess. And so I tried this with students, and I built all of this in Keynote. Keynote's fabulous because you can search for little icons. Now, the way to do this is to use the plus sign again in Keynote, but you tap on the shapes, which is like a circle layered with a square. That's what you do, 3 over from the left. And you can search different shapes. So this is at the market. And I made a few of these. So once I made the template, all I needed to do was change the weights and the different things that the students were buying. And what they had to do, and what I would suggest is that you don't put very many words on here. Obviously, you can't do an icon for this. So this student here is expected to say, je voudrais un kilo de pommes et 5 kilos de carottes. And the second student will then say, et avec ça, and so on and so forth. And they practice their little paired speaking. Ultimately, what they're going to do is they're going to record this speaking. And what you'll find is the students will go over and over and over this. They will practice and practice because they know that you're going to listen to it. If they were just doing it as a paired activity, and then we were going to move on to the next activity and we weren't going to record it, all they do is they rush through this activity, they move on to the next paired speaking activity, and they rush through that. But because they know that it's going to be recorded and you're going to listen, what you will find is that they will practice and practice the work prior to doing their recording. Then they will record, then they will move on to the next paired speaking task. And I would suggest that maybe you don't, it's actually quite tricky for them. Well, my year 9s found it quite tricky. So I did only 3 of these templates for them to record. But by the time they get into template number 3, they're so used to the vocabulary that it's becoming quicker and quicker. And of course, they switch roles each time. So that's paired speaking. And like I said, once you've made the template, you just need to remove and switch some of these icons around so it makes it super easy for you. If you can't find an icon in Keynote, and sometimes you can't, I would just recommend the Noun project to you. This one's from the Noun project, and you can download icons from the Noun project as long as you're signed up to them, and you can pop them in your keynotes. And that's brilliant. So that's a paired speaking activity for you to try. Okay, the next thing I want to talk to you about is an application called Clips. Clips is fantastic. And I was saying to Graham yesterday, Graham and I were having a little chat yesterday morning, and I could probably do, actually, I could do way more than 30 minutes on the app Clips itself. But Clips allows you to put icons and little cartoon things and film a video and put pictures in and type text. And it also does, what do you call it, like as you speak, it types the text for you, and it'll do that in all sorts of different languages. So it's captions is the word I'm looking for. You can put captions on. It's a really, really fantastic app for, first of all, creativity, and secondly, for expressing themselves in the foreign language. And it's something that I would really highly recommend that you have a look into. If you're not familiar with Clips, if you go to the Apple Teacher Learning Centre, again, free, you just need to have an Apple ID. There's loads of really useful little lessons showing you how to use Clips. But the Clips app is well worth a look at, especially for language teaching. Okay, I am going to stop sharing. We're going to hope that this works, Graham. And I'm going to start sharing again, but this time I'm just going to nip onto a Chrome tab. All right. Okay, I just want to talk a little bit about Socrative. I absolutely love Socrative, and actually it really came into its own when I was doing some live teaching during our lockdowns. But one of the things I want to talk to you about, just before we go on to our next topic, which is listening, are these quick questions. Yes, you can make a quiz, and you can have the, you can put images in there, and you can have it as a multiple choice or short answer, but we know that sometimes quizzes take a while to make. And so it can become a little frustrating. And yes, you can find quizzes that other people have made, of course you can. But these quick questions are absolutely fantastic. You can, what I quite like to do is I would like to say, I'll put a picture on the board maybe, and I might give a sentence describing the picture, and the children, then I would launch this quick question, and the students decide whether my description is true or false based on that picture. So I don't even need to write anything down. I can just say it out loud, and the kids just tap true or false on their iPad. So these quick question elements in Showbie are absolutely brilliant for real ease of use and very quick listening activities. Short answers are kind of cool. You can type in a short answer and then you can vote up the answer that you think is right. So that's also a great way of using this quick question method. Right, so that's very quick on Showbie. I realise that I have not very much time and there are other things that I want to show you. I'm going to do that and hopefully go back to there and share my other screen. Where has my window gone? Sorry, Graham, I seem to have lost my Keynote. Ah, Graham, can you see that?
Not yet. Not yet. We've still just got your name on the screen at the moment.
Okay, sorry. There we go. You can see it now, can't you?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, super. So that was just a quick look at Socrative. I realise I've only got like 15 minutes left and I've got a million other things to do. But Socrative is super, particularly those quick questions, just for a quick listening activity, maybe as your starter activity, maybe as your plenary. But again, another thing that's well worth looking at, and you can download all the results. You can see exactly who knows what in your classroom. It really gives you that sort of refined, quick temperature test of where your class is at. So if you haven't tried Socrative, then you really ought to. Okay, I'm guessing a lot of us use sentence builders these days, and they were called all sorts of things prior to sort of the modernization of them. This is a dead quick sentence builder. But what I like is the fact that you can do speaking in sentence builders. Now, this is made in the Numbers app, and most people think the Numbers app is basically just used for a spreadsheet and numbers and adding things up and doing things that you would normally do in a spreadsheet, but the Numbers app is so much more than that. And again, a bit like Clips, I could probably do an hour just talking to you about how we could use numbers in the modern foreign language classroom. However, I haven't got an hour. And what I've done is I've just dropped a table into Numbers and I've made my sentence builder. But what I've done here is just like in Keynote, and the beauty of iWorks apps is that once you know how to use one app, pretty much the menus are the same for all of them. So I will have just tapped add here. I'll have jumped onto that icon that looks like 2 photographs, and I will have done a record. And this doesn't actually play, it's just a screenshot. And here are the recordings for each of these. So when the student taps this, they will hear le week-end dernier. Tap here, they'll say la semaine dernière, and so on. And you could make, I haven't done here, but you could make recordings for each of the elements of your sentence builder, so that the students, when they're at home and they're trying to work and they're trying to put their speaking together, they have your voice with them and they can practice their speaking. It's also perfect for setting for homework. Okay, kids, I want you to take your sentence builders home and I want to practice your sentence builders. And you could even have a column here where they have to record 6 sentences that they've practiced at home or whatever. And it's really just a brilliant way of having the support at home when you're not there, or having the support in classroom when you're busy dealing with another student. And this ability to be able to record in the iWork apps is absolutely fantastic. So that's speaking sentence builders, a great way to support your students in classrooms with speaking. Right. I'm just going to come out of present mode because this will make more sense if I do. Okay. Here we're creating simple listening tasks. And again, always make the template. When you're making a template, so this box here is just a box, and I've put it with no fill in it, and I've changed it so that when you tap on it, if it will let me tap, the text starts here and it's at the top and so on and so forth. Once you make one box, just duplicate each box. So make one as you would like it to be made with the correct size font and the correct font itself, and then just duplicate each box. It'll just make life easier for you. So the thing with listening is that when initially, particularly at a younger age, they're going to listen to a recording that maybe is on your computer, and you play it twice for the whole class. And the brightest kids get it and the weakest kids don't. And so the weakest kids are always way behind. So this actually allows students to have control of the listening themselves. Either you've recorded yourself, or maybe you've got a native speaker in your department and that you can record them speaking. And what the students would do, and hopefully this will play, it worked before, so.
Je suis allée en France en bateau.
And so what the kids have to do is they have to listen to that. They can listen to it as many times as they like. And then here they write they note the country and method of transport. So they're just going to write France and boat. Okay. And like I said, it just gives them a little bit more support in the fact that they can listen to it as often as they like, and they don't have that pressure of only being able to listen to it twice. Of course, you're going to have to wean them off that eventually, because ultimately when they do their exam, they do sit in a classroom and they do only listen to something twice. But certainly for very young readers, very young learners, this kind of activity is really useful and really supportive for them. This is another simple, it says speaking, it should say listening. This is another simple listening task. And again, a recording of your own voice, but this time they just move the icons. So this makes it even easier. So if I just play this, I think it's the same recording.
Je suis allée en France en bateau.
So this time, all they do is they drag these little icons into the right place. So they don't even have to type. You can just, I have no idea whether these are the right answers. You don't even have to type, they just move the icons. Making these are really super simple. Again, it's just a box. And I've had the box, I've cleared the box, there's no fill in it. And this is just an emoji. And I've just increased, because these boxes allow for text to be typed into them, and an emoji is like text. And I've just put an emoji in there, and I've increased it to about 0.200. And so you can use the emojis for this kind of activity. And again, super simple and super supportive. They don't even, like I said, they don't even need to type anything. Okay, this one is very similar. As you can tell, this is the Isle of Man. And these are really nice activities. The students really like these kind of manipulative activities. So this is about the weather. Again, a recording, and you just move the weather symbol to the correct place. If you've made, can you see here, I've made some fog. Just make sure that you group everything together when you make it. And once again, I've just made it using these shape tools that are in Keynote. So what the kids do is they press this.
Dans le nord, il fait du vent.
Okay, so in the north it's windy, so I get my windy symbol and I move it to the north of the Isle of Man. I have no idea what this is.
Dans le sud, il fait froid.
Okay, so it's cold down south. We'll just move that and we move this. And very quickly they can either hand this in or you can be walking around as they do this, because of course you're not in control of the little icons, the kids are, and you can quickly assess whether the kids have this right or not. But again, it's easy to hand in a Keynote through Showbie, and then in Showbie it's very easy to open up a Keynote, which is one of the real beauties of that particular platform. So yeah, that's just another way of creating listening activities in this is done in Keynote, and again, super supportive because the kids are in control. Right, sorry Graham, I'm going fast. I've got 5 more minutes and I've got a few more things to show you. Okay, this is a reading task. There's not really much to say about reading tasks in French particularly. They just read and answer the questions. But one of the things that I do like about all the iWork apps is that you can actually have the text read out to you. And that makes a connection between what the word looks like and what it sounds like. Now, that's particularly important in French because there are lots of silent letters and there are lots of strange phonemes that the kids need to get their heads around. So if I just select this, I'm presenting on my MacBook today. It's slightly different on your iPad. I have to actually bring up this word speech, but once you select on your MacBook, on your iPad, the word speech appears, and you can set different voices on your iPad, and you do that through the accessibility menu, and it's really quite straightforward to do. There are a lot of instructions online as to how you can add different languages onto your iPad for speech. So I'm going to select speech, and hopefully it's going to start speaking and you can hear it.
Mon collège s'appelle SNHS et c'est situé à Douglas.
Okay, so it will read out the text that you highlight to you. So imagine that we're in a classroom and you're busy with somebody else and the kids are practicing maybe doing this as a speaking activity, or they don't really know what it means because they've done so much listening, they haven't actually looked at the text, which would be unusual, but they might just select a bit that they don't understand.
À 9h10.
And so once they hear it, they might be like, à 9h10, okay, 10 past 9. And it's a lovely way of being able to support students with recognizing the text and hearing the sound. This is a particularly horrible one for students. They don't know how to say ennuyeux, but there we go.
C'est ennuyeux.
There we go. Okay, so again, have a look at text to speech. You can also do speech to text, where you speak into the iPad in French and it types it in French for you, and it's a great way of testing whether your pronunciation is on point or not. So yeah, again, have a look at text to speech for your students. Right. This is kind of like a reading writing activity. I tend to enjoy not being in my classroom, and this is a noun hunt. And yes, I know it's very stereotypical, feminine words and masculine words. What I've done, actually I do need to come out of it. What I've done is I've created a template here. And what I'm asking my students to do is, when they go around school, they're going to take a photograph of a noun. So they need to take a photograph of an object. So that, first of all, they need to understand what a noun is. And on the iPad, when you click on it, on the iPad, it's a little plus actually. When you click here, it will open the camera. and they take a picture, and that picture will automatically be popped into this square. So it's like a little, like I said, again, we're making a template so the kids don't have to think about how to do this. It's already there for them. You've made it, and they're just concentrating on the language. So they click on there, the camera automatically opens up, they take the photograph goes into this box, and here they might have an actual physical dictionary, or you might be using an online dictionary, and they're going to look up the word. And obviously in French, all these words here would be le or un, and all these words over here would be la or une. And they go around school and they take pictures of things, and it's to try and get them to understand that in French language, and many others actually, there are two genders for nouns, so two groups of nouns, masculine nouns and feminine nouns. And it's just a very concrete way of showing them, okay, this is how this language works. It's what it's based on. So that's a noun hunt, and making these little photograph templates is one of the ways to make it easier for your students. And again, if I had more time, I'd show you how to do it, but unfortunately, I don't. But if you are interested, I can show you, or I can talk to you, send me a message in Twitter, and I'll show you how to do that. But that's great. Right. This is in numbers again, and this is what I call a guided lesson. And as I told you, that numbers isn't what you think it is. You can use it for all sorts of things. Across the top here, these different tabs guide the student through the lesson. Now, this is a video of my, Daisy, sorry. This is a video of my iPad. So I'll just press play. So what the kids do is they click on start, and they get this screen, they read their instructions. Okay, and then they click on the next tab up here, and they click on recall. I'm just going to pause it for a second. And then they have these activities that they do as a recall activity. They've obviously learned about different jobs in the house, and then they have a matching up activity to do. They click on the next tab. Hopefully my little tab will move. So we go back up to the top, we click on speaking, and they have a speaking activity to do. And put their recordings in. Click again on the next tab, and I've got a listening activity. They click on those, as we've talked about, those little icons. Moving on, they move into translation. Make it a little bit bigger for you. And that's a wobbly translation. And again, more translation, and finally a writing task, building up to a writing task with a ticky box to-do list where they can tick off the things that are in their writing. So that's another nice way of using numbers and guiding students through a lesson, and providing them with the support for that lesson. Okay, we're nearly there, the very last thing. Then the other thing you can use numbers for is you can create tests and great for starter activities, and this is done using conditional highlighting. And if I click play, I will show you how it works. So I've created a listening task here, so they listen to the word. So we're listening to the word. I don't think it's going to play.
Apple. The boy ate an apple.
Okay, and then I type apple, and if it's correct,
Enormous.
it goes green.
The monster was enormous.
And another feature is that you can have this drop down. When you click on it, you can have the drop down activity. There you go. And I'll click. Oops, I'll start it again for you.
Apple. The boy ate an apple.
I type the spelling in, and it goes green if it's correct. This is a drop down one.
Enormous. The monster was enormous.
So you get a drop down box of options. I chose the wrong option, so it stayed red. But when I choose the correct option, you'll see that it goes green. And it's a great way for the students to be able to assess whether actually they can do their spellings or not. And it's a super easy way for you to make a starter activity for your lessons. And that is called conditional highlighting, and you do it in a spreadsheet actually. But you can do it with numbers, and you can do it with text in the Numbers app. So yeah, there we go. I've kind of stuck to 30 minutes. This is my very last slide. If you do want to contact me, please feel free to connect. I'm only on Twitter, and I am at lanxlassrach. And I'd be more than happy to chat to you about some of the ideas that we've shared this morning. And just before I finish and I hand back to Graham, I'd just like to say thank you ever so much for joining us this morning and taking time out of your super busy lives to maybe learn a little more about how you might use iPad in the classroom. Thanks ever so much. Thanks, Graham.
That's been fantastic. Thank you, Rachel. There's you know, 1,000,001 ideas to come away with, and I love the simplicity behind actually for the students because of the use of templates around there. You touched on clips, and you mentioned the captions. For those people who are interested in clips, for the captions in foreign languages, sorry, not in English, do you need to set up those languages in the settings, or does it just happen automatically by magic?
In the Clips app, sorry, I've got my video stopped. I must remember to put my video on. In the Clips app, when there's like a little icon that looks like a globe, and you tap the globe and you get the option to select the language from there. It's really easy, really easy.
Yeah, because I love clips too, because it's me as a former geography teacher and not somebody who's up on design. It makes your videos look really good really quickly, doesn't it? So so from that point of view, that's great. And then again with that speak feature, I think you covered it, but did you?
Oh yeah, it's super fast to use, and the kids pick it up really quickly. You know, like I was talking about load and overloading children, it allows you not to, they're not overloaded by the app.
Yeah. And do you need to set up the languages in advance? Is that something that you need to guide the students through, or do you do that, or does that happen through MDM settings at your school? Hello? Can you hear me?
No, you need to sort the kids out. You only need to do it once. Once it's done. But like, it would be one of the things that I would set up in one of the first lessons of the year, so that they have a keyboard setting for the different languages that they are being taught, and also they have that text to speech setting set up, and you do that through the accessibility features in iPad. I'm just going to have a quick look now and tell you how to do it.
Yeah, in fact, what I can do is if I share my screen, you'll be able to, if I set up quick time, I'll be able to do that as a quick demo. If you give me a second. Are there any other questions that are coming through in the chat? Feel free to use the Q&A. There's some great things around sentence builders there that's come through. So so that's fantastic on that side of things. And here we go. I've got, so if I can go, I'll go and share my screen in a second. And then just in terms of,
Sorry, I just got kicked off.
oh.
Into settings, please, Graham.
Sorry?
Are you doing the speech thing?
Yes. So if I go into settings, yeah, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you go scroll down to accessibility for me.
Yeah.
Yep, there we go, perfect. And then in accessibility, you go to spoken content.
Yeah.
And then can you see where it says voices?
Yes.
If you click on voices. And there you've got all your so if you click on French, just up a couple, yeah. Yeah, and just the default's absolutely fine. And that's it, you just select it. So Thomas is selected. And so when you select your speech now, you'll get the option of, do you want French or do you want English? And it'll read it in the correct language for you. If your keyboard's in French, it assumes you want it to be in French, but yeah. This is easy as that.
Excellent. And yeah, we've got, I mean, again, we've got testimonies from other people saying about how easy Clips is with their primary children as well as in secondary. So so that's coming through there. Doesn't look like any other questions are coming through. So I would just like to thank you again for the session that you've done. You know, as ever, I've listened to, I've been to one of your webinars or in-person workshops, and you always come away with a ton of ideas. So thank you very much for sharing what goes on in your classroom. We really, really appreciate it. And what I'd like to do is to thank everybody for coming along, listening in, and those people who are watching back on the recordings. Thank you very much. Later on today, we've got a session around retrieval practice, and we've also got panel discussions which are focused around independent schools, and we've got an educator interview at the back end of the day as well. So feel free to watch back or join in those sessions, and I'd like to once again say thank you, and if you enjoy the rest of your day, we'll be finishing now. So thanks a lot.
Thanks, Graham. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.